What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man, obviously it's the off season, so, we just bringing up things that have been, circulating through the media and that have been talked about and have been kind of a, pretty talked about thing and a actual hot topic in terms of just the media, in terms of everybody, just, talking about certain things and just what's going on in the hoop community, obviously, right? As an NBA fan and just as a basketball fan. So, the latest thing we're going to talk about that I think that is at least enough to talk about, or that frustrates me, or that I have to debunk the cap and, just destroy all the narratives, is going to be who is the best player currently in the league, right? And, as the season approaches and as, we solidify what's going on, the preseason and all that type of stuff as it's starting to gear up, training camp as well, not too far away. We'll obviously give who I think the top 5, top 10 players are in the league. Might go by position. You never know, you get what I'm saying? And, based on what we saw last season, I kind of will do my due diligence and try and give a correct IQ type of ranking, breaking it down and why, who is who, and the reasons why who is who. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the conversation right now is talking about who is the top dog in the league right now. Who's the best player in the league? And bar none, we already know who it is. There's people who are going to say LeBron. There's some people who are going to say Giannis. Obviously, the conversation for LeBron is he was injured and this and that and the third. And how many times has it been where, for instance, like KD was injured for the last 2 seasons, his name wasn't even mentioned, right? There was guys who were injured and their name wasn't mentioned. So why are we doing that with LeBron again? Don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the argument when LeBron was top player or whatever in people's eyes, or let's say when it was Kawhi. They said because this player was injured, we didn't see this player, and they got knocked out in the first round, right? With a Fugazi series. We're not going to do that. So LeBron isn't even in this conversation. A lot of people that saying LeBron is in the conversation and LeBron is still the top player and all this type of stuff, their eyes are just blind. Their eyes don't work. How can you still be the best player while you're declining? While, you know what I mean? Come on, now let's not do that. There's other guys, even KD came off an injury. There's so many guys who came off an injury, right? That didn't have the excuse of, oh my God, if he came off an injury, that, they didn't have that excuse. You know what I'm saying? So we can't apply that to LeBron. We just have to say, we'll see how he plays this season. If you're a LeBron fan, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't, when it was for LeBron, use the same narrative. And then now when LeBron is in the other end of the spectrum and he's finally the one who is injured, you now want to switch the narrative and move the goalposts. No, don't do that. Y'all said that about KD when he was injured. Y'all said it about Steph when he was injured and he wasn't playing, and other players when they were injured and they weren't playing. Now, let's do the same thing and apply the same context to LeBron. So, again, LeBron's not in this conversation. If you think he is, you're just being biased and you just show where you lie and you're not being honest and you're not being authentic to the game. You know what I'm saying? So we move past that. LeBron's not the best player, right? Now, obviously, the conversation is going to be between Giannis and KD. And a lot of people that have brought up Giannis's name and a lot of people who've been using Giannis, obviously, context is normally, in the grand scheme of things, whoever who has kind of finished, getting the Finals MVP and winning the whole season, the whole NBA season, been the top dog in NBA season. Their team wins the ring and they're the Finals MVP. Normally, they're on top of the world and they're not only the Finals MVP, but they're also the best player on the planet, bar none. And that's what it normally is in the grand scheme of things. But again, I'm here to give context, give IQ. That's what I do to everything. That is correct when that player, also has been applied skill, or I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not going to do that. And, I'm not going to even do that. Let's just go into the context of everybody else because, again, LeBron hasn't been the most skilled player. Those times he was winning Finals MVP and he was winning rings and he was known as the best player in the league, like 2016 with the Cavs, etc. And people thought and felt that he was the best player. Why? Because he just won Finals MVP. He just won the Finals. And that's kind of like your stamp and showing you that, yo, you do this, right? Obviously, there's context of who's on your team and did you lead your team X, Y, and Z. But regardless, Because that's funny. They use the same argument to knock against KD when he was Finals MVP, top dog, right? Winning the ring. They didn't say he was still the best player. They used context saying, oh, no, you can't be on a stacked team like that. You have to be leading your team. So when LeBron did in 2016 with the Cavs, even though they were a stacked team, even though they had Caleb and Kyrie, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're still going to use that argument where, okay, he carried whatever X, Y, and Z. But how about when he was on the Heat? When he had a super team? And he was the best player and he won 2 rings there. What happened? Oh, they still say he was the best player in the league. So you can't pick and choose. You can't in every scenario favor LeBron in all these scenarios and then for other guys use it to discredit them. So I understand the logic of Giannis, yes, finished and Finals MVP, finished with a ring, top dog, guaranteed, best player on the planet. I understand that kind of, lane or that kind of context or reason or verdict. You pick Giannis. It makes sense, right? In terms of just without context, just isolating that. But let's go back to the guy KD. Let's really talk about what's real. You know what I'm saying? Because again, these are the same guys this is why I use other narratives that they've used in the past. I've used other narratives that they use for other players. I'm showing you how they cap and how they move the goalpost based on who they like, based on who they favor, based on X, Y, and Z. And again, it's always, again, has to come around to LeBron because this is the main guy that man's moved the goalpost for, right? Not saying that sometimes it wasn't true, but you can't now, when it doesn't favor LeBron, flip it where it favors LeBron. You can't do that. And then now when it's somebody else, you erase it. And what I mean by that, it's going to come full circle, but what I mean by that is, again, for KD, the knock for KD is that, oh, he's out. Nope, it's Giannis, finished the ring, got the, Finals MVP, etc. But how about when KD did exactly what y'all said, the same, context, finished the ring, Finals MVP, top dog. When KD did that for 2 straight years with the Warriors, they said, no, his team's stacked. They used extra things to say he's not the best player. And not only that, not only did they just say he wasn't, they said LeBron was the best player. Meaning, he's the one who lost to KD, but he doesn't have a stacked team. He was outnumbered. He was the best player. The Warriors were just the better team. Okay, so why don't you apply that context to KD versus Giannis right now? Because we've seen what happened in that series when KD had Harden go down and KD had Kyrie go down. We've seen who the best player was. Didn't he lose just like LeBron lost when it was to the Warriors? But you said he was the best player. The other one was the better team because they were injured and they were, hobbled. Even other years when KD wasn't there, and the Cavs and Curry won. They said Curry's not the best player because he just had the better team. But LeBron was hobbled in 2015. No Kyrie, no Love. He was the best player. It's not the same context with KD. Didn't what LeBron do in that finals? Obviously, KD even was more efficient or whatever. And KD pushed it 7. But isn't it the same context where your team is injured and you're carrying and you still lose because the other team has more? So why don't they apply that same context to KD? But for LeBron, they applied that context. They still said he was the best player in all those scenarios. But for KD, it's not. It's all of a sudden, Giannis. Didn't Giannis have his 3 mans? Didn't Giannis have no injuries in terms of versus the Nets? They had what? DiVincenzo was injured? That's what we're talking about? Their main big 3 was still there. Brooklyn's big 3 wasn't there. In the latter half, the last 5 games? What was it? 5 games? Yeah. No, 4 games. Because Kyrie got injured basically game 4. Basically. So the last, 3.5 games. And KD still got 1 of them. And could have got the game 7. Could have got 2 out of the 3. But what happened? His big toe. So, you know what I mean? So when you look at it from that perspective, you can't move the goalposts. This is what I be talking about. Moving the goalposts. Moving the goalposts nonstop. You can't move the goalposts and have your cake and eat it too. KD now is in your LeBron situation that everyone has always been saying he's the best player. KD's in that situation now where he was with the Nets, the best player, clearly. But he lost to the other team because they were the better team in context-wise now since the Nets went down with hobbled injuries. So this is where you just debunk and you see I see what they're doing. The fact that they're still doing this and they're moving the goalposts, I see what they're doing. It's because who? It's KD. Dislike, hate the Golden State Warriors move. Why? Because it affected LeBron's rings. It affected LeBron's, where his rise. He got that 1 ring down 3-1 and then, 2 more finals, 0-2 since then. made Kyrie maybe want to leave. Part of it. So you know what I mean? It's like they're gonna hate KD obviously forever, because you know how LeBron fans feel and how they move. They don't really love basketball. They actually love LeBron, and then they love basketball. So when you look at it from that perspective, man, it's like, dog, you can't use that Giannis argument because, yes, isolated, it sounds good. It sounds great. Top dog, finals, it sounds great. But when it comes to KD, they played each other. That's what you got to forget. That's what you're forgetting. They played each other. The two candidates for best player actually played each other in a series. The same guy that they're saying is the best player, Giannis, actually said KD is the best player in the world. He said it out of his own mouth. In the series. Not even after. During the series, he said it. Now, that's just even context in terms of story. Now let's actually analyze the games. Giannis is just a paint-dominating, paint masher, which you don't have to be this type of player to be the best player. You don't necessarily have to be a skilled player to be the best player. Remember, LeBron has been the best player, and it's not cap. He's been a best player for some time. And at times, they say he's been the best player up till this date and up till last year and up till, no. KD been the best player. To me, he's been the best player since 2014. But, people will say I'm boosting and I'm capping, but it is what it is. But there's no debate that he's been the best player since 2017. That's no debate. Since he went to the Warriors and shot the shot in LeBron's eye and carried and did all of that, he's been the best player. Because, again, you can't say he's the best. LeBron's been the best player when he's on the Heat with a trio. And then now flip. And you don't say that about KD just because he's on a great team. He can't beat it. Like, come on now. Oh, my God, he wouldn't have the space and did it. How about when LeBron was with the Heat? What are y'all talking about? So anyways, we at the end of the day, let's analyze the games. Like I said, you don't have to be the best skilled player. LeBron wasn't skilled, 3-level scorer player. You know what I'm saying? And he was the best player in times, in his prime. But Giannis right now, he's coming, but it's unfortunate that on your quest to a championship, you actually faced the potential best player candidate. You faced that guy, or a candidate for, potential best player. You faced him. And he outbeat you, outplayed you in terms of context, in terms of skill displayed, a masterful display of arsenal ability, skill set. While Giannis was missing free throws, obviously he played great in certain moments. He played great, even for the whole series he did in the overall series, even with his ups and downs. But at the end of the day, when you analyze both of them, it's two different leagues that they're in. It's two different echelons. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's even go to the stats. If you want to go look at the stats. Giannis, that series, what did he do? What did they do? Let me see. Giannis, that series, averaged 32 points, 13 rebounds, 3.6 assists. So 31.9, 12.9, 3.6. He shot 57% from the field, which is elite. 26, I'll even round up. 26% from the three, which is atrocity, right? 48% from the free throw line, which is atrocity. And this is not even analyzed, even eye test. This is just, let's go look at the stats. When a guy beats you in stats and an eye test is not even a debate. Now let's look at KD. Shot 50% from the field. Shot 35% from three, which was even a bit lower for him. And then shot 83% from the free throw, which even is a bit lower for him. But still had 35 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and 5.4 assists, 5 assists per game, 1.6 steals per game. With Giannis, 0.1 steals per game. 1 block for Giannis per game, and KD 1.1 block per game. So he beat him in basically every category except rebounds and field goal percentage, 50 to 57. But you already know KD's field goal percentage is 50 field goal percentage on jump shots, while Giannis is 57% on majority twos and paint. So when you look at it, KD's beating him in basically every category substantially. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, is this even a debate before you even look at the eye test skill and all of that? Like, come on now. There's not even a debate who the best player is. And then when you look at the whole playoffs, even though Giannis had a great finals, you know what I'm saying? When you look for the whole playoffs, when you look at it, Giannis for the whole playoffs, what did he do? He had 30 points per game for the whole playoffs. Obviously, because there's more games, your points per game is probably going to go lower. Remember, it's 21 games sample size for Giannis because he went 2 rounds further than KD, and obviously KD's a 12 game sample size. But let's just see how it goes. Let's just see, because I don't think you can kind of get the sense that even if KD played more games, or it's the same. It's actually going to go even in a better favor for him. But whatever. The point is, let's read. Giannis had 57 field goal percentage for the whole playoffs, 19% from three for the whole playoffs, and 7. I lied. Let me click here. My fault. 19% from three for the whole playoffs, and he shot 59% from the free throw for the whole playoffs, which is actually great for him. 30 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, right? Look at KD. KD shot, had 34 points compared to Giannis's 30, right? Had 9 rebounds compared to Giannis's 13, which is obviously different. And Giannis's rebound, he basically center, but that he beat him in that category. 4 assists to Giannis's 5, so Giannis actually beat him in that category, which is great. 1.5 steals to Giannis's 1, so KD beat him in that category. 1.6 blocks to 1.2 blocks. KD beat him in that category as well, too. Slapped him in points, 34-30. 87 slapped him in free throws, 87 free throw to 58. KD slapped him in threes, 40% 3-point to 19. And then field goal, he's not even far off. 57 field goal for Giannis to KD's 51. So KD basically the 50-40, 87. Almost 50-40-90 for the whole playoffs, right? For 2 rounds. So when you look at it, like, obviously, I'm just reading out stats for those stat boys and guys who care about stats and whatever. We go by basic stats. We don't do no efficiency field goal and where they combine and compile and do math. That's not how the game goes. Basic stats across the board, right? And when you look at it from that standpoint, KD, obviously, majority of the categories he's beating them in, and not even to add, like I said, the eye test. So I don't even care about the stats necessarily. Obviously, the stats, you look at it to a certain extent, but when a guy is beating you in stats, like I said, and the skill is just outmatched and not even close to different tiers, there's nothing to really talk about here. The only difference is obviously Giannis in the finals, he had 35, I think 13-5 again. Like, he was snapping in the finals. But again, this would be a different situation if KD, let's say, exited the second round, and let's say it was to Philadelphia or something like that, right? And they got exited the second round, and Giannis and the Bucks didn't play the Brooklyn Nets, then you would just look at the path, and it would favor Giannis. Giannis would have a better argument for saying, okay, I'm the best player in the league. He's the best player in the league, because you kind of just look like it's the same thing like Kawhi versus LeBron. The 1 year LeBron didn't play, or other years, it's kind of like you look at because they're in different conferences, you look at their trajectory, what they did, and it's story versus story. Stats somewhat, but story versus story, especially when a guy gets exited earlier. Like, you use those things hinder you, right? But that's what I mean. In this situation, let's say KD got, exited in the second round to Philly, and Giannis did the same path and went to the finals and won. You wouldn't be able to discredit Giannis that much. Obviously, people will have eye tests and say KD's still the best player, X, Y, and Z, whatever. But the majority will say, yes, Giannis is the best player because, again, look, he's the Finals MVP, and you could use the same argument like I said before. Finals MVP, you won the ring, whatever. But when you now match up against each other, that Finals MVP, and even though you won that, kind of gets lost in the shuffle. In hindsight, it gets lost because y'all matched up. So the matchup is everything. And when y'all matched up, we seen who was who. So that necessarily, that is what takes over. That's where your eyes draw to, because you guys matched up against each other and went head to head. Giannis didn't even want to guard KD. Go back in time and remember what happened. PJ Tucker's like, he's the best. They just kept praising the man. Even after the game, Middleton said, if his foot wasn't on the line, I already know it was done, It was done. It was a wrap. So don't forget that. So at the end of the day, that's why when you look at it, KD's the best player. When you look at context and you analyze things in proper, just analyzing things from a proper IQ level, you will see that KD is the best player. And then If we just look at the eye test, like I said, you already know what time it is. You know what it is. So come on now. There's not even, to me, it's not even a discussion. If you don't think KD's the best player in the league right now, you're something wrong. Your eyes don't work. There's no way your eyes work, fam. This is where they say that's an epitome of a casual. You know what I'm saying? That's what they say. So when you look at it, man, it's like, dog, there's actually no reason why. And then now you add even Olympics, even in his favor, when they doubted and all, and you seen what he did with all the big dogs there. All the Dame, Tatum, all these guys there. Up and coming guys, Levine, Beal before he left. Like, KD's them. KD's one of them ones killing, silencing, winning the gold. Obviously, that doesn't really play into a lot of people's minds, but it does in the context. It should, in the context of they were losing and they look like Fugazi. Oh, they need LeBron. They need Chris Paul. They need Curry. They need all these elite. They didn't take the top guys. They took the second tier B guys. And no, KD can't do it. And then he did it. So that's why that context does matter, even though normally Olympic basketball wouldn't really matter. So when you add these and you compile all of this information and you process it and compute it, it should show you and it should tell you that KD is that. And even before that, the eye test tells you KD is that. So KD is the best player in the league. I don't even think it's a discussion. I don't even think it's a debate. If you think otherwise, you have to do some question. Like, there's some questioning that man's have to look at you. It's very questionable. Your IQ moving forward and your takes and your, it's going to be like, well, man's look at you with a side eye, for real. You know what I mean? Like, moving forward, it's like, do we really even, do we rate anything he says or she, or like, come on now. Let's be real with it. Let's be real with it. So let's go on. Let's go on to the next. Click that notification button. You already know. Let's go to the next vid.